June 1951. Landsberg Prison, Bavaria. A sentence is carried out. Or several. The records aren't perfectly clear on the sequence. There's a reason this moment is hard to picture clearly. The men who died here were experts at making other moments hard to picture. Stay with this? It will make sense. They were called Einsatzgruppen. Mobile. Organized. Efficient. Not soldiers in the traditional sense. More like administrators. Of death. Formed by the SS, conceived by Himmler. Refined by Heydrich. For units. A, B, C, D. Deployed east. Into the Soviet Union. Into a war that wasn't going to be fought by any rules. I keep trying to find the word for what they were. Not monsters. That's too easy. Monsters don't file reports. Monsters don't sign off on things. These men had desks. Between 500 and 1,000 men per unit. SS, Gestapo. SD. Subdivided further into Einsatzkommandos. Each one assigned a territory. Each territory, a task. The same task. Always. What made the Einsatzgruppen different from other instruments of Nazi terror wasn't just what they did. It was how they thought about what they did. As policy. As procedure. As necessary. That distinction matters. We'll come back to it. You arrive in a town. You coordinate with local authorities. Lists are drawn up. People are gathered. They're told, it varies. What they're told varies. But they're gathered. Taken to the edge. Outside the walls. Past the roads. And then, mass shootings. That was the primary method. The Einsatzgruppen killed more than 500,000 people by the end of 1941 alone. Babi Yar, September 1941. 33,000 Jews. 2 days. Or 2 days. That number doesn't fit in the head. It doesn't go anywhere. You say it and the brain just, or stops. Himmler noticed something, eventually. The killings were becoming a problem. Not morally. Logistically. And psychologically. The men doing the killing were breaking. Not all of them. Not in the same way. But enough. Alcohol. Methamphetamine. Reports of trauma within the units themselves. Himmler began looking for cleaner solutions. The gas vans came later. They tried to make it collective. So no one man felt responsible. No individual guilt. Just process. That's not how guilt works. But that's what they told themselves. 3 men. We're going to focus on 3. Not because the others didn't matter. They did. But these 3 tell the story in a particular way. Werner Braun. Born 1909. Greifswald, Germany. Law student. Early Nazi Party member. By 1941 he was commanding Einsatzkommando 11B. Part of Einsatzgruppe D. Southern Ukraine. Crimea. The Caucasus. Simferopol. Yevpatoria. Feodosia. Cities. Real cities. With streets and bakeries, and he moved through them like paperwork. His brother Fritz was also in the Einsatzgruppen. Same family. Different commando. There's something in that detail that resists easy explanation. This wasn't a crisis of orders being followed reluctantly. This was chosen. Carried across a family. Erich Naumann. Born 1905. Meissen, Saxony. Left school at 16. Joined the Nazi Party in 1929. By November 1941, commander of Einsatzgruppe B. Belarus. He submitted reports. Careful reports. One stated his unit had killed 17,256 people in Smolensk. Another, December 1942. The number is in the record. I won't say it again. His unit operated gas vans. 3 of them. He admitted this. He also oversaw operations in the Netherlands from 1943 to 1944. Operation Silbertan. A death squad. Dutch SS men. He approved the executions. When they asked him on the stand, did he think anything was morally wrong with the orders he followed? He said no. He said the orders were correct. Because they were necessary. Because they were his goal. He used those words. That moment in the courtroom. It's one of the most unsettling things in the Nuremberg record. Not because it's shocking. Because it isn't. He wasn't angry. He wasn't defensive. He was certain. Otto Ohlendorf, born 1907. Hohengelsen, Hanover. Studied law and economics. Universities of Leipzig and Göttingen. Joined the Nazi Party in 1925, age 18. The SS in 1926. By 1941, commander of Einsatzgruppe D. The same unit Braun served under. He was the one who noticed. When men were too eager to kill, he removed them from executions. Not out of mercy, out of order. Excess made things messy. Ohlendorf is perhaps the most studied of all Einsatzgruppen commanders. Because he testified. In detail. He confirmed the killings. The numbers. The methods. He didn't deny anything. He also argued, at length, that he was acting under legitimate orders. That the killings were a preemptive military necessity. That he was the one acting lawfully. He believed it. That's the part that stays. He believed it. The Einsatzgruppen trial. Nuremberg. 1947 to 1948. 24 officers charged. 14 sentenced to death. This is where the story gets complicated. Not morally. The moral question was settled. But practically. Of the sentences handed down, not all were carried out as written. Some were commuted. Reduced. The Cold War was beginning. West Germany needed stability. Certain men became inconvenient to execute. Braun, Naumann, Ohlendorf, among the 7 whose death sentences were carried out. June 7, 1951. Landsberg prison. A field? That was somewhere else. A long time before. This was a prison. This was a courtroom and a sentence and a date on a document. This was different. Wasn't it? The Einsatzgruppen were responsible for the deaths of well over 1 million people. Possibly closer to 2 million. Of the thousands of men who participated, perhaps 100 were ever charged in West Germany. Fewer convicted. Witnesses aged. Funding was inconsistent. Governments in both Austria and Germany became less interested. Less interested. That's the phrase. Less interested in their own history. A man standing at the edge of a field. Clipboard in hand. Counting. That image. That's not Landsberg. That's somewhere in Crimea. Or Belarus. Or Ukraine. That's 1941. And the man is Braun, or Naumann, or Ohlendorf, or one of the hundreds of men below them in the chain. The trial was justice. Partial, delayed, insufficient in scale. But justice. For 14 men, it came fully. For most, it didn't come at all. The records exist. The reports they filed. The numbers they wrote down. The operations they named and dated and signed. The evidence was never in doubt. The will to use it, that was the variable. Naumann said the orders were correct. Ohlendorf said they were lawful. Braun said he was following the chain of command. And beneath all 3 of those arguments was the same thing. They never stopped believing they were right. There's a version of this story where justice is clean. Where every man who gave an order for murder was held to account. Where the system worked. That's not this story. This story is partial. 7 men hanged at Landsberg while thousands of others returned to civilian life. To jobs. To families. The Einsatzgruppen trial remains one of the most significant prosecutions of the 20th century. And one of the most incomplete. I keep coming back to Naumann on the stand. Certain. Not defensive. Not ashamed. Certain. And I think that's the thing that the trial couldn't fully address. It could take lives. It couldn't reach whatever was inside those men that made what they did feel rational. History doesn't always give us the ending we want. Sometimes it gives us the one that's true, and leaves you to sit with the distance between them. Now you see it differently, don't you? If this changed how you see it, subscribe. There's always more beneath the surface.